Hi everybody, Tony again here with Shinsho Yoga, and this week I would like to work on double pigeon pose. So I am going to give you a link here. I'm trying to think, probably be here, maybe here, I don't know, for pigeon, a video I had originally done for your traditional pigeon pose. I don't want to get too much into how to do pigeon, more of this is a advanced version of pigeon, so if you're not familiar with it, I would ask you to watch the video about pigeon pose first and then get into double pigeon, right? Because this is more of an advanced posture and can be very challenging, where your traditional pigeon pose is really going to be a stretch for the glute and the outside of the hip and along the IT band. Your double pigeon posture is going to get not only outside but inside at the same time, and it can be it can be extremely challenging, and depending on your tightness in your hips and depending on the person, may be more challenging or less challenging than a posture like Gomukhasana or cow face pose. Gomukhasana I call the bane of my yoga existence because of how my hips are. I have those traditional tight male hips, and cow face pose, or sometimes called shoelace pose, is extremely difficult for me. So I have to use a whole bunch of props in it, and in my years of doing yoga, although I do feel I have progressed in the posture, it's still very hard for me. And depending on the person, that can be double pigeon too. Some people may be very good at shoelace or cow face, Gomukhasana, but very challenged at double pigeon, or you may be able to get into double pigeon relatively well and struggle with Gomukhasana. I don't struggle with double pigeon as much as I do Gomukhasana, so I am the latter of those two. But again, if you haven't seen the video on pigeon itself, I would ask you to watch that first before you get into this, to really understand about the posture first and then what we're doing differently. And of course, I'm going to give you modifications for this, because most people are going to need a modification for this. Again, I consider this to be an advanced posture in yoga. So let us get into it right away and get into double pigeon. And I'm going to pull blocks and blanket over because I'm going to show you what to do with it. So double pigeon, we start from a seated position. So somewhat like Sukhasana, our standard easy seat, right? You come flat down onto the mat here with your sit bones seated. Often you'll have teachers will say sometimes to you, make sure that your sit bones are seated, right? What does that mean? Well, sometimes the flesh on the glutes can kind of get you up one side or the other, and sometimes teachers will have you pull up on one side. I found it's just a little rock back from side to side, and that will settle out and have you be flat. I'm initially going to show you without a modification and then with modifications, right? So to come into double pigeon, seated flat, I'm going to have one leg that's going to be the bottom leg and one leg that's the top. I'm going to start with left on the bottom and right on the top. And what you do with this is for this here with the left side started, my left leg is going to come around in front here. And then I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to stack it on top of my left. Now, so that the shins are stacked. Now, with this posture, most teachers are going to want you to bring your foot up into your knee. Now, if you see when I do that, my knee sits really high. I get pain here in my hip and some impingement. It pushes me up off this way, right? I also get pain here trying to level myself out. There's things that can be done with props to help level that out, but really the best thing you should do if you're having pain in this is just take the leg a little wider out. Everybody's body is built differently, right? So bringing the foot up in here for me creates this lock in my hip that just hurts. So even if I used props, like if I used a block and did this, right, I still have pain over here. Where if I just do this, my shins are still stacked on top of each other. It's just my hips are a little bit wider. My hips naturally splay out. And because my hips naturally splay out, trying to pull them in this way is extremely challenging, and it doesn't work for me because that's not how my body is set up. So I need to be a little bit wider here. From here, with the legs stacked on top of each other, we want to keep ourselves upright. We don't want to curl into this as we fold. We want to lead with the heart as we do with all types of folds. Just bring your arms to the sky, allow the shoulders to relax, lead with the heart, and you're just going to fold forward. Now initially, you may be very tall like this, right? That's okay. Don't do this. Stay this way. But as you breathe, you should be able to sink further into the posture. When you come out, don't spring out. Gently rise up, re-lengthen, and come back down. And from there, you can remove your legs. And generally at this point, you're going to need to wipe them out, whatever you need to do there to get them a little bit open, okay? Now, if you saw me do that and went, right, understandable. I'm going to give you a couple modifications that you do with this. Now, before I get into that, I did that on the right side with my right leg on top, right? I consider that right side because of, by stacking the legs the way I did, it's going to put more into my right hip than it is my left hip. Okay, so this would be right side. When you put the other leg on top, the left leg on top, then you're really focusing on the left side. But being double pitching, you're going to get it in both hips. It's just kind of 60-40. So 60% is going to be on the leg on top, 40% on the bottom. My left side is my more challenging side, right? So on that one, I would really need a modification to help me with it to really access it the best. So I'm going to demonstrate on the left side how we use a modification. The first modification I would do is a blanket behind me to help lift me up a little bit, right? So bringing the blanket behind me, as you can see, it's one fold over, and now I am sitting on that first forward half of the blanket, all right? So what that does is this gives me a slight pitch forward. Brings me up a little bit, brings me a little bit this way. I'm also going to have a block here to show you what we do with the block. Again, I'm going to do left side. So my right leg here is long in front. I'm going to take my left leg and bring that over the top. Now, you see a lot of space here. Now, it's more comfortable for me now doing this way with the blanket lifting me up. But I take the block, I bring that in, now my leg is supported. I can stay here without an issue. The same thing. Fold. Now, with the block there, where it is, you are not going to have as much movement in your fold. This is going to prevent that, right? Because they're pressing this further up into the body. So don't expect, if you use the modifications, to be able to get as deep into the posture as maybe the person next to you in your class who's completely folded into it. Don't compare yourself to the person next to you. Your bodies are not the same. If this is what you need to do today, this is what you do, right? But just know you won't go as far. I'm going to remove the block, and I'm just going to widen this a bit again. Because of my body, my hips like to go out this way. So bringing this up in here doesn't work. So mine's going to come back a little bit further. I'm still going to keep the blanket behind me because that keeps me a little raised up. that blanket helps me to be able to get further into the fold on that side. Now, I can do it without that blanket on both sides. The left side, though, is always the more challenging side for me, because now we are really getting into the left hip, which is my more angry side of the hips. So, double pigeon. Much more intense than your standard traditional pigeon, what I consider to be more of an advanced posture, right? Especially with most people's hips. Blocks and blankets use as needed. Adjust where the legs go to be able to fit your body. When you fold, lead with the chest. Let the arms relax, shoulders come forward, right? Come down into it, breathe, reverse yourself out. Bring the legs out gently. Shake them out. Simple enough, right? Double pigeon. So, as always, breathe, follow the breath. As the thoughts arise, acknowledge them, allow them to pass by, return to the breath. Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Be happy to respond. Namaste.